We got gap up in the market. Now we've seen, we've got a 0.6% gap in the market today. If you know the price action of the last few days, what have we seen happen? What have we seen happen? Hold on here. What we've seen happen the last, I would say, the last 2-3 weeks, every single kind of morning spike has been faded off. Like yesterday, man, the market looked so hot for like 2 seconds, well, for 20 minutes, and then it rolled over all the way back into yesterday's close. So, like, my game plan for today, we don't know, this plan may not work forever, right? Frankly, it's been really the last couple of weeks been some of the easier trading that we've had of the year, because the plan has been really the same, is to kind of short these tech stocks into spikes. Today's election day, so there's going to be a little bit of uncertainty. We don't really know how things turn out, so the market's going to shift around as it needs to shift around. But the game plan is really the same. If we get any kind of big morning spike, we're going to have to look for rollovers. We got to look for rollovers, because that's been the play that's been working for us every day nonstop. Now, that kind of play won't work forever, but I think, while we got still this election up for grabs and, we don't know really what's going to be happening, there's going to be probably just when the market is uncertain, then you get weakness in the tape. But, once this thing is over, we'll probably start to solidify, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter who wins, right? The market will probably just start to solidify, just because we'll have a little bit more structure around kind of what's happening. Let's take a look at some of the gappers, and then we'll kind of see what else is going on here. You're starting to see a whole... Yeah, a lot of these are kind of turds. Okay, ANET. And this thing is a bitch to trade. So Arista Networks climbs over 7% for Q3 earnings. Revenue tops quarter forecast, blah, 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 blah. This thing's a little bit thin. This thing is a little bit thin. So this is a little bit of a trickier stock to trade, just because you're going to have a spread on it. I've actually seen it. It does have good range. Like when it wants to go, like it can really, really spike up, because the float on it's just pretty low. If you look back, what I always like to do is kind of go back and see, like, how did it react in like the past earnings? Like the last times it's gapped. Like, does it have like kind of big intraday ranges? And if it does, then it's still tradable. So you can see here, like, you've had some days where you got, like, even once the market opens, it's got like a 20-point additional range. So I think that's actually something. If the liquidity is there, I think that's something that we're going to be able to get down with. So that one looks pretty good. I would add that to the list. Oh, yeah. SSL, junk, triple D's, double D's, triple D's. Let's see here. So it's got earnings in 3 days. You got a breakout pullback set up here. So, like, this thing is a 3D printing company. They got from $8 back into its MAs at like $5.50. You're starting to gap up on this. This one's not bad. I mean, it may have some juice just due to the fact that it's pulled back, 30, 40, 50%. But man, probably not my particular cup of tea. PLL. Hey, by the way, this PLL over here, like, this has had a big pullback into the 50 SMA. I actually think, probably something like this, if it gets any liquidity, is probably looking like, that's looking really bouncy. That has a chance actually to be a bouncy. Now, it doesn't have enough volume for me personally, because if you try to, this type of stock, if you try to load like a couple thousand shares even, like, it's going to probably shake and bake it due to the lack of liquidity. But if you're trading like a little bit of a smaller size, like that one's got a nice, that one's got a shot. Like, you got a big, you pull back all the way to some big support and you're starting to hold there and build. That's actually, usually a good shot. Dun, 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 ACB. We'll go into those pot stocks in a second here. this W is probably gonna, I would think, it looks like it's gonna red roll. What I mean by red roll is like, it's been fading off its gap already. It's fading off its gap already. Like that one's got a chance to like just get smoked out OSTK style. So if you see like, the day that OSTK had its earnings out, it was this particular day. It gapped up like big right at the open, and then it started just fading off like the whole day. This is the same sector, and it's already red rolling into pre-market. You can see right here, if it gets under this dotted line, it's going to be nasty. Right, we're right in a sweet spot. Look at this thing. So that dotted line's going to be, it'd be nice if we could catch a little bounce on this thing and then let it shred. But see this like mega penis tail over here? That's telling you something. It's already faded off like 40, 50 bucks. I think that's my favorite short for today. Hopefully it bounces up a little bit at the open, and then we'll take this piggy down. One thing to remember with Wayfair too, this thing was like 20 bucks just like a couple months ago. So even at 250, this thing is a bloated pig. Alright, junk, GWPH, hot stocks, workhorse, workcock. So this workhorse is gapping up here. You have like multiple levels of support, but you're in a big downtrend on this. This is not really my kind of cup of tea. All right, let's talk about the regular watches. So we got a couple okay gappers. I'd add W to the gapper list for a fade. Only for fade. I'm not trying to long that one. So let's take a look at pot stocks. With the expectation that Democrats may win the presidency and decriminalize marijuana, I believe you're starting to see a run in pot stocks. This CGC. The CGC ran all day yesterday. It ran all damn day yesterday. Now you're starting to kind of a flat open on these. I mean, these things could, pot stocks suck to trade. They have very few days where they follow through like a second day. But if you get a follow through, meaning like it takes out yesterday's highs, you could have some follow through and really, we could have some fun today with these things. There's a bunch of them that are still like really cheap. So you could add CGC. What's the other one? TLRY starting to shape up here. Same type of deal. Like this 7 area is going to be important. That's been kind of a lid on this thing for, a little bit of time if you go back on an hourly chart. So that 7 is going to be really important. And then this cron is starting to come out of range too. You can see all day trender on this side. Add all three, and then the other one is this ACB. And this one's like on a dead bottom, so you can see like this thing hitting off 3. Now you got this thing like yesterday was really pushing. You popped up about $1 on this thing yesterday. Woo! That thing is going to have a chance. That thing's going to have a chance. So if you start to see, we don't know. Sometimes like with these kind of names, they'll pull the rug on them. If you start to see, right, like it getting supported, right, and they just start stacking on those bids, like you start to see buyers emerge on this thing. So if it dumps off at the open, you start to see it round, you start to see it hold, then we're gonna have a chance. We're gonna have a chance to really get some fun on these. They got some room to run. Now my worry, the big hairy butt on these, of course, is that they just don't ever have second day follow through. Oh man, this W's red rolling. Woo! Look at that thing got. What a roll. Even if it's a little bit pricey, right? Like even if you're just trading around like 100 shares of this thing, you might be shredded. Let me see. Tesla's already kind of pushing up here. Yeah. Tesla's under too much resistance, so I'd leave those alone. Now let's talk about the rest of the kind of like bouncy list, all right? This BYND sitting on a couple levels of support here. If we could start to build, around this, like kind of above this 142, this one's going to have a chance. That one looks pretty good. ZM is sitting right on its 50 SMA. Right on its 50 SMA. We're right in an interesting bounce spot on that. Now the issue on these is going to be that you need a market run for these things to go, right? They're not going to just go to go. So we need a broad-based market rally for any of these kind of plays to work. So the pot stocks will move no matter what. But the rest of them, we need a market run. So like BYND, bounce spot. ZM off the 50 SMA, bounce spot, right? We got this AMWL. This thing has got a big support here at 25. Bounce spot. All of those are looking pretty bouncy. FSLY, right? This thing was at $140. You're now down at $60. If the market starts to cook, bounce spot. Now, we haven't seen any indication that the market is stabilizing. So I repeat, like, we have potentials for bounces, but we have none. We have no sign yet that the market is ready to bounce. If you look at the price action yesterday, even though the market finished like kind of a little bit green, the market faded off and trended down the whole day. So we don't have any indication that the price action is shifting until I start to see that. Where you start to see patterns on very, very short time frames fire and trigger into bigger ones, then we don't really have anything to do except just short spikes, right? So in the meantime, these tech stocks, will bounce them only if the market stabilizes. You can trade the pot stocks. They're going to move regardless of what's happening. And then one thing to kind of keep an eye on today that I think is going to be important, if this setting, it had its earnings out, this is a solar company, one of the larger ones. If it starts to sell off and takes down all the other solar stocks, then we might get some shorts in these. If you see, like, because of setting, right, this JKS is starting to get real heavy. I mean, this could very well be, like a bear flag. We've been thinking it's a bounce, but it could very well roll over. So you're gonna have like some action in some of these. That's gonna be pretty cool. So I would definitely roll with. I definitely put a couple of these solars on the watch list. JKS may roll over because of this action and setting. Same thing, right? You got like CSIQ. Some of these could start to just push down. We don't know if they're gonna, but I think that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Now, there's Chinese stocks are showing a lot of weakness. BABA has, I believe, a half or a 1/3 ownership in that Ant Group. Ant Group IPO is an IPO for, it's like the WhatsApp of China or some shit, right? And but it's the biggest subscribed IPO in history. They said they had up to $2 trillion in potential orders of people like trying to get in on it. Like, so basically everybody in China was trying to buy this thing. It's like an app, but you can do like payments, but you can buy stocks, you can chit chat with people. So it's like, and everything. And Baba owns a big portion of it. So it looks like they suspended the IPO for a few days due to who knows what kind of collusion over there. So now this Baba's getting smoked out. So this will be in play today, but it's not going to be an easy one. Like, we don't know. You don't necessarily know if this is an overreaction or underreaction. So you can only base it off the price action. But because you're sitting on like kind of multiple levels of support here, it may not be the easiest. Short. Yeah, I think they had like, it was like 30 million people were trying to buy into that Ant IPO. So I don't know if it's gonna IPO over here, but it was a heater over there for sure. So I think this will be in play, but just because they suspended an IPO for a few days doesn't mean like it's gonna be something long term, right? They probably just postpone it for a couple days. Good. Another one to add in, second day play on this Fitch. All right, second day play on this Fitch. So if you look at Fitch, what's up, Clips? If you look at this Fitch, it had news out that Baba was thinking about doing an investment in it. And so you have 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests, 4 tests. So this is an IPO breakout, right? That goes back from 2019. This has been a pretty hot stock for the year. You know, it was at $6 and it's still continuing. And then yesterday I had some news out that they were going to get some investment. And now it's kind of taken it above its breakout spot. It's a retail stock, so it does trade a little bit funky. I caught some of it on the opening shred, but then I was trying to bounce it the rest of the day and just set around. This could very well, if it takes out yesterday's highs, all right? If it takes out yesterday's highs, so watch how it builds. If it starts to push towards that 34 spot, then I think we're going to have a chance to get this thing going. So add that to the list. So in summary, we've got solars, we've got pots, all right? Solars and pots are the theme plays. Then we got a couple of these earnings plays that are setting up. And then tech for bounce if the market stabilizes. If the market doesn't stabilize, then we're shorting tech. So we got different, you always have pockets. When you plan out your day trading day, you have to have themes and then kind of an overall structure of what you're going to do with the general market. You know, so you got earnings plays, themes, and then general market. Those are your 3 buckets of types of trading, right? Earnings plays will move on their own. They do whatever they're going to do because they just had earnings out. Then you have themes and sectors. Those are going to be groups of stocks that push regardless of, the general action of an index because there's some underlying push in them or some type of fundamental shift. And then you have your market-based plays, which is like, okay, I'm shorting and playing stuff like Zia, all right? So those are your 3 buckets of trading. So when you're planning out your day, you've got to be thinking, like when you enter a stock, you have to always kind of think about like what kind of bucket it's in, what the theme is, and then if you're actually matching it to what is generally happening in the market. Good. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Damn, JB, good short. Good short. Good. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. You know what? This plug actually does have a nice spot on it. So you had a breakout, and then you have pullback into multiple levels of support. You got kind of like a confirmation candle yesterday. So I do think this is definitely something that you can. This is definitely something that you can keep playing. Good. Excess is okay. The issue is that it's just, I was watching it yesterday for a few. The liquidity on it is really dried up. But the range is still pretty good to trade it back and forth. I plan on putting a full day of trading in today, Mr. Big Al. Cool. Oh, shit, Damien. You all right? Cool. Guys, that's the list. Trade small today. There's going to be... I wouldn't go full size at the open. I layer into your plays because we don't really know how things are going to shake out. The market's going to shift around today. A lot of professional traders I know are actually just sitting today out, but we're junkies, and we know that we're going to be making money no matter what. So we're going to give it a good whirl, a good old college try. I think there's enough kind of earnings plays and stuff to keep us busy. All right, let's go do what we do, which is the do. Good. I'll try to stay in the chat room most of the day to supervise, because God knows what will happen if I leave for a few. All right, let's have some fun.